What if the original woman wasn't made from a rib, but from the same dust that formed the gods? Before Eden, before the serpent, before the fall, there was Lilith. She didn't bow. She didn't stay silent. She was made from the same clay as Adam, but refused to be beneath him. Her name was erased from the scriptures, but her whispers still echo through time. According to apocryphal texts and ancient Hebrew traditions, Lilith was the first woman. But when she demanded equality, when she refused to lie beneath Adam, she was cast out. Not from paradise, but from the official story. Lucifer, whether fallen or thrown down, didn't see her as an ally, but as a mirror. Both were exiled for refusing to obey, both branded as dangerous, both born of freedom. Why does the Bible stay silent when the scandal is too loud? On the shores of the Dead Sea, ancient scrolls still whisper her name. Old rituals fear her invocation. She was never cursed with painful childbirth. She simply chose to leave. What if Lilith isn't a myth, but the first act of feminine resistance against divine order? What does the church gain by keeping Lilith buried in silence? While Eve was shaped from a rib, Lilith was shaped from refusal. While Eve bit the fruit, Lilith bit the system. And Lucifer, he simply watched, not as a seducer, but as a witness to a woman who, for the first time, looked up at heaven and said, "I will not bow." And for that, she was called a demon. Hidden texts from the alphabet of Ben Sira say angels were sent to bring her back. She refused and was threatened with the death of her children. In fury, Lilith became a symbol of the woman who obeys neither God nor man. What if evil wasn't a mistake, but a design? Lucifer, sitting among shadows, contemplates the forgotten first woman, not with lust, but with respect. And that is where it all begins. Because if Lilith was the first, then all others were merely echoes. But Lilith wouldn't remain alone for long. Another woman would rise, not made of clay, but born from the bloodline. And she would use her own body as a weapon against the soldiers of God. What do you think about this? Tell us in the comments. Giants aren't always defeated by swords. Sometimes all it takes is a kiss. After Lilith, others came. But Delilah didn't want to be equal. She wanted to win. Lucifer watched. He knew where a man's strength turns into arrogance, a woman's seduction becomes judgment. Delilah never faced armies. She faced Samson, God's chosen one, with soft words and lethal intent. Why does the Bible blame the woman's body, but never the man's pride? The story's been told 1,000 times. Samson, judge of Israel, hero with divine strength, fell in love with her, but every kiss hid a blade, every touch a betrayal. Delilah was paid, bribed, but not forced. She accepted, she chose, and with a single cut, she severed the power that came from heaven. What if Delilah didn't just cut his hair, but severed Samson's connection to God? The book of Judges tells the drama, but hides the desire. Delilah knew the real temple to bring down was male ego. She lulled Samson to sleep upon her lap, like a lamb led to the slaughter. Blinded by lust, she cut. She delivered. Did she laugh? Maybe. How many women have been demonized for doing what men have always done? Choose. Delilah became the symbol of feminine betrayal. But what about Samson? Did he not betray his people by lying with a woman from the enemy? Did he not sell his soul for lust? Lucifer contemplates. He didn't interfere. He didn't need to. Desire did the job for him. Delilah is proof. Hell doesn't have to roar, it only needs to whisper. In ancient rabbinical commentaries, there are clues Delilah may have been a pagan priestess, part of fertility rituals. She didn't just cut hair, she severed the bond, she broke the covenant. What if Delilah knew exactly what she was doing and didn't regret it? What's left of a man when his strength is taken by love? And what's left of a woman when her name is buried under the label traitor? Delilah, like Lilith, never asked for forgiveness. She simply vanished, leaving behind a crushed body and a living legend. But if Delilah destroyed a man with kisses, the next woman would use beauty to conquer an empire. If this hit you, like this video and click the hyper button to help spread the message. What if the salvation of a people didn't come through faith, but through political manipulation? Delilah betrayed the chosen one, but Esther saved an entire nation, and she did it without a sword, without a miracle, and without asking for permission. While the scribes praise her courage, few truly see what she did. Esther infiltrated. She slept with the king, silenced her enemies, and turned a royal harem into a battlefield. How many divine alliances were forged between royal sheets? Lucifer didn't move a wing. He simply watched. Esther was different. Not rebellious like Lilith, not seductive like Delilah. She was strategic. The book that bears her name never mentions God. No prayers, no miracles, only action. Why does a book in the Bible completely ignore God's name, yet remain sacred? Esther used her beauty to be chosen among hundreds, but it was her cold calculation that kept her alive. She lived with a pagan king, hid her identity, and revealed the truth only when the moment was right, when the game could be flipped. In ancient manuscripts, there are hints that Esther was trained in rhetoric and strategy by the palace women, masters of the invisible game. She didn't pray, she calculated. What if the real spiritual war is fought with silence and presence? She threw her body in front of an impending genocide, but not as a martyr. As a key piece on the board, the queen didn't call upon heaven. She spoke to the king, and the fate of Israel turned. Why would God stay silent in a book, yet still allow his people to be saved? Lucifer understood. Sometimes divine silence is the perfect disguise, and faith is replaced by cunning. Esther was celebrated as a heroine, but was she also a manipulator, ambitious, cold, or simply the only one who knew how to survive in an empire ruled by men? But if Esther used the throne to save, the next woman would use the throne to destroy, and her name still sends chills through the halls of religion. Subscribe. What comes next is even darker. What if the real blasphemy wasn't against God, but against the control of the prophets? Esther played wisely, but Jezebel played with fire. When she entered Israel, she didn't come with swords. She came with priests, not to worship, but to rule. She was a queen and a priestess of forgotten gods. Lucifer didn't need to reveal himself to her. She already knew the names heaven tries to hide: Baal, Asherah, ancient spirits, and she brought them to the king's table. What if Jezebel wasn't a sorceress, but a dissident theologian? The Bible paints her as a demon, but what made her dangerous wasn't witchcraft. It was the fact that she dared to challenge the prophets. Elisha, Elijah, men of Israel's God. They all knew Jezebel didn't fear the altar. She built her own. She killed prophets, chased divine voices, corrupted the cult. Or did she simply confront a patriarchal system that never accepted a woman in the pulpit? Canaanite writings describe priestesses like Jezebel, leading sacred rituals 1,000 years before Israel was born. She wasn't a witch. She was the heir to a suppressed tradition. How many times has the name heretic been given to a woman who thought differently? When Elijah confronted her, Jezebel didn't flinch. She cursed him, and Elijah ran. The prophet of fire fled from a woman. She painted her eyes, a clear symbol. She knew the face is a mask, and beauty can become prophecy. What makes a woman more dangerous than armies, her faith or her voice? Jezebel fell from a window, trampled, killed, and dogs licked her blood. To this day, her name is synonymous with female sin, not because of lust, but because of power. Lucifer, standing before her memory, smiles, not with pleasure, but with recognition. But if Jezebel stood against the prophets, the next woman would face the Messiah himself, not with weapons, but with tears. Share this with someone who needs to see what's been hidden. What if the first witness of the resurrection was also the most silenced by the church? Jezebel stood against the prophets, but Mary Magdalene knelt before the Christ, and still her presence disturbed more than any enemy. She wore no crown, built no temple, carried no poison, only love, a love that confused. Lucifer watched, and he knew the most dangerous power is not the one that kills, it's the one that transforms. Why was the woman closest to Jesus reduced to a prostitute? Mary Magdalene was never officially called an apostle, but she was the first to see him alive after death, before Peter, before John, before any man. And yet, her voice was silenced for centuries. Apocryphal gospels like those of Mary and Philip reveal she was his confidant. She received secret teachings. She questioned. She understood. What happens when a woman understands more than the disciples? She stood at the foot of the cross when everyone else ran. She anointed his body while others denied him. And still, tradition reduced her, called her the repentant one, as if her presence beside Jesus were shame and not revelation. Lucifer never touched her. He didn't even try. Because what she did was more subversive than any temptation. She was living proof that Christ chose the unlikely. What if the Messiah entrusted a woman with the most sacred secret? The victory over death? The institutional church couldn't handle it. Faith needed male pillars. And Mary was an earthquake. Gnostic writings speak of rivalry between Peter and Magdalene. He called her the favorite, and she, unwavering, answered with doctrine. How many truths has faith sacrificed to protect male authority? She didn't seek a throne or power. She simply wanted to remain, and for that, she was erased. But if Mary Magdalene was silenced for love, the next woman would be celebrated for violence, and her womb would carry more than a child. It would carry the promise of war. Have you ever questioned this? Share your thoughts in the comments. What if the only woman to rule? Judah had to drench the throne in blood just to be heard. Mary Magdalene remained at the foot of the cross. Athaliah, on the other hand, built her throne on corpses. She didn't ask for space. She took it. Daughter of Jezebel, heir to the royal blood of Israel, and the shadows of Sidon. While other women influenced kings, Athaliah was the throne, the first and only woman to rule Jerusalem. But her path to the scepter was marked by something not even Lucifer would dare suggest: infanticide. What if the price of female power was the death of every male heir? When her son, King Ahaziah, was killed, Athaliah saw the void and acted. She wiped out the royal bloodline, even the infants. She didn't just want the title, she wanted total control. Religious, political, spiritual. According to 2 Kings and Sioux Chronicles, she seized power and reinstated the worship of Baal. But what if it wasn't just idolatry? What if it was retaliation? The religion that murdered her mother, that condemned her heritage, was now beneath her feet. How many women have to destroy the system just to escape its shadow? Athaliah ruled for 6 years. No husband, no king by her side, no priests guiding her hand. She was everything the scribes feared. A woman in charge. Lucifer watched, but didn't interfere. Maybe because this time, the rebellion came from within the temple itself. Some historians suggest Athaliah was the final attempt of the old cults to take hold of Judah. And that's why she was hunted, like a virus in a sacred body. What if the blood Athaliah spilled was just a mirror of what men had spilled before her? She was executed inside the temple, a sacrifice to restore divine order. But before she died, she screamed, and no one recorded what she said. But if Athaliah killed kings to rule, the next woman would manipulate empires without lifting a single finger. She would use only her eyes, like this if any part of it made you uncomfortable. What if a saint's head rolled because a young girl danced before a king? Athaliah killed to reign. Salome danced to kill. She wore no armor, no crown, just a girl, innocent in the eyes of the world, lethal in the eyes of heaven, daughter of Herodias raised in the Roman court. Salome absorbed more than luxury. She learned the art of influence, and with one dance sealed the fate of the last prophet of the Old Testament. What if the sin wasn't the dance, but the desire hiding in men's eyes? John the Baptist cried out. He pointed fingers in the desert. He called out real sins, but he never saw what was coming. Wrapped in silk, spinning to the sound of flutes, Lucifer watched silently. Because this time evil didn't speak. It moved. The Gospels say Herod was captivated by Salome's dance. He promised her, "Ask me for anything." She didn't flinch, didn't ask for jewels, nor gold. She asked for John the Baptist's head. How many men have offered too much, seduced by what they claim to condemn? But was it truly desire or revenge? Herodias, Salome's mother, despised the prophet, and Salome may have been just the messenger, or maybe not. Gnostic writings and extra-biblical traditions suggest Salome knew more than she let on, that she understood the symbolic weight of her performance, that her dance was an inverted liturgy, a sacrifice in motion at a royal banquet, on an altar of unspoken desire. How many women were demonized for exposing the hidden wants of holy men? John, the wild prophet, lost his head, not to Rome, not to demons, but to a gaze. Salome vanished after that. History swallowed her, but her dance still echoes, because she proved that power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers and spins. But if Salome took down a prophet with a dance, the next woman would break the rules of the Messiah himself. With tears. Subscribe. The truth doesn't end here. Become a member to watch early, vote on future topics, and unlock exclusive content. What if the most revered woman in faith was also the most misunderstood? Salome used dance to seal a destiny. Mary, the mother of Jesus, used silence to rewrite history. She didn't speak much, but when she did, the world changed. She was the chosen one, but also the silenced one. Lucifer watched, intrigued, because here stood a woman who carried a god, literally. But she also carried doubts, fears, and secrets that were never revealed. Why does the Holy Book offer so few words to the woman who brought forth the Savior? The canonical Gospels praise her humility and obedience. But hidden in apocryphal texts and oral traditions lies another portrait. A Mary who knew ancient rites, held secrets of the messianic bloodline, and had a deep connection to forces beyond human grasp. Manuscripts like the Gospel of Mary and the Proto-Evangelium of James suggest she was trained in the hidden knowledge of her time. She was prepared not only to bear the burden, but to guard the secret. What if the real miracle wasn't the birth, but the silent power Mary held within? She endured judgment from her people, her family, even fate itself. Yet she never rebelled in public. She chose silence. Lucifer saw in her a different kind of strength. Not rebellion, not seduction, but the magic of patience. How many women have been silenced for knowing too much? Mary was exalted as a mother, but her voice was suppressed. She became a symbol of purity, and nothing more. What did she know? What did she hide? What will never be spoken? But if Mary kept her secrets in silence, then the next woman would use her voice to shatter every chain and shake an empire with her truth. Tag someone bold enough to watch this to the end. What if the forgotten voice of women was the greatest threat to divine order? Mary kept her secrets in silence. Anna shattered that silence with a voice like thunder. In the temple, hidden in the sacred shadows, she prophesied. Lucifer watched. Because Anna didn't just see the Messiah, she declared his coming. But her voice was buried in the official pages. Why is a woman's prophecy so easily dismissed? Anna devoted her life to the temple. She fasted. She prayed. And when she saw the child Jesus, she didn't hesitate. She recognized what no one else dared to see. The Gospel of Luke calls Anna a prophetess, but barely. In hidden manuscripts, she is a rebellious voice, bold and defiant, crying out against the blindness of the priests. What if Anna was the true divine alarm? Silence to preserve control. Her prophecy was more than a revelation. It was a challenge, a call to a silent uprising. She pointed toward the future. A shift so unsettling it made even angels tremble. But few listened. Lucifer knew, a voice that breaks silence is more powerful than 1,000 swords. How many women had their voices cut off just to keep power in the hands of men? Anna vanished from official history, but her echo remains. A subtle cry in an empty temple. But if Anna shattered the silence with prophecy, the next woman would be even more enigmatic. A shadow among shadows. Her name whispered through mystery and buried secrets. If this disturbed you, that was the point. Leave a comment. What if the most feared woman wasn't a person, but a symbol that defies the end itself? Anna became the voice of prophecy. Now the woman of the apocalypse rises in the shadows of what's to come. Unnamed, undefined, an enigma painted in red, clothed with the sun, with the moon beneath her feet. Lucifer watches but does not judge, because she embodies what neither heaven nor hell can contain. Feminine power in its purest form, chaos in creation. Who is this woman who rides the beast, commands the seas, and makes nations tremble? She's not just a biblical figure. She's an archetype, a mystery, an eternal rebellion. Apocryphal texts and esoteric writings describe her as the mother of secrets, bearer of destiny, and warrior of the end times. If this is the truth, why are our eyes still closed? She doesn't submit. She doesn't kneel. She doesn't stay silent. She is the woman who carries both prophecy and ruin, who faces angels and demons with the same fearless heart, who destroys in order to be reborn. Lucifer sees her not as an enemy, but as an equal. In her, he finds the mirror of his own rebellion. What if the end of times is just the beginning of true freedom? The woman of the apocalypse is the secret heaven fears to reveal. The power even angels dare not confront. The cycle completes. From Eden to the New Jerusalem, from the forgotten first woman to the final prophetess. And what if all of this is real? Write your truth below.